Now, as we've heard, the United States says its humanitarian aid is to help a community known as the Yazidis. But who are they, and why is the Islamic State group attacking them? The Yazidis are a religious sect scattered across northwest Iraq, northwest Syria and southeast Turkey. They're often feared, vilified and persecuted, regarded as devil worshippers by many Muslims and other groups. And that's because the Yazidis pray 5 times a day to Malak Taus, also known as the fallen angel. His other name is Shaitan, which is Arabic for the devil. We're joined now by Arash Aramesh, who is a national security and Middle East analyst with Stanford Law School. He's live for us from Palo Alto in California. Welcome to the program. First, why do you think the U.S. has chosen to carry out these airstrikes in Iraq when it chose not to launch airstrikes in Syria?
This tragedy in Iraq was reaching the definition of genocide. President Obama last night in his address clearly stated and purposefully stated the term genocide. According to U.S. law, when genocide is being carried out, that carries with itself some responsibilities for the U.S. government. Responsibility, for instance, to intervene. First of all, this intervention in Iraq to prevent the rise and then the advancement and the advances of the Islamic State is long overdue. So I'm glad that finally the president is taking action to push back some of the vilest terrorist elements in the Middle East. But the fact that they're intervening now is A, to protect American interest in the region first and foremost, and also there's American personnel that are in Erbil. A few weeks back when the city of Mosul fell and there were the threats against the capital Baghdad being made, Erbil was deemed as the most safe, as the safest location in Iraq. It's in the heart of the Kurdish region, the Kurdistan. It's a cosmopolitan, beautiful city, and that city was being threatened by ISIS. They sat only 10 miles outside Erbil. To intervene was A, to protect American interests and personnel, also to make sure that our allies in Kurdistan, the Kurds who we protected since 1991, for whom we provided no-fly zones in the 90s and have been some of the most loyal American allies post-liberation of Iraq, don't come under ISIS assault and ISIS control. In addition to that, we will provide, there have been
Sorry, Arash, let me just jump in here. You said that this intervention by the U.S. is long overdue, but how effective will these airstrikes alone be in stopping the advance of the Islamic State group, of stopping this genocide that we keep hearing about?
After Mosul fell, ISIS came in contact and in possession of American-made equipment. We're talking about M16, M4 carbine assault rifles. We're talking about armored vehicles, and we're talking about, for instance, missile launchers. The Kurds don't have any of that. They've been fighting with 1970s AK-47s and basic equipment they could take away from Saddam's broken military. On the other hand, the Iraqi military has proven itself to be very incompetent. They fled Mosul and they allowed ISIS to come in and take over military bases, police bases, and almost $500 million worth of cash. So the reason that the intervention is taking place now is A, to prevent a genocide taking place against a particular group of people. ISIS has made it very clear that they are going to cleanse the region from the infidels.
Yes, we know that you think that that is one of the purposes, but will these limited airstrikes stop such a genocide from taking place? Will these limited airstrikes alone be able to stop the advance of these Islamic State fighters?
These airstrikes will provide support for Peshmerga forces of the Kurdish region to fight the ISIS forces on the ground. Airstrikes alone have never won wars. Let's be clear. Airstrikes alone, without fighting forces on the ground, have never won wars. But when you provide airstrikes, when you break the back of the enemy from the air, you pave the way for your forces or your allies' forces to go ahead and fight. This is what we did in Libya. This is what we did before. We've done this since time immemorial. We pound the beaches so our forces can land in Normandy. We did that in Libya so forces could fight Gaddafi's forces. Unfortunately, we haven't done this at all. Even though the Iraqi government for months has been requesting U.S. support, we haven't done that. Even though the people of Syria have been requesting this for years now, for almost 3 years, against their dictator Bashar al-Assad, who is partially responsible for the rise of ISIS, even though they fight each other, but Assad in Syria is responsible for the rise of ISIS. We have not tried to intervene. President Obama's grand goals in the region cannot be achieved with minimalist approaches. You want to fight terrorism, stop a nuclear Iran, support our ally Israel, and make sure Iraq is stable. These grand goals cannot be achieved by a hands-off, stay away from Middle East strategy that the Obama administration unfortunately has pursued in the past few years.
We're going to have to leave it there for now. Arash Aramesh, thank you for speaking to us. So while the Yazidis are trapped in the mountains of northern Iraq, other communities have been pushed deeper into the autonomous Kurdish region.